Well, good evening, unless you are in Australia, in which case, good morning. Um, I'm Andrew Weaver, and this is the Quilting Business Success podcast. And with me here, I have Bobby Ware, who is my most frequent co-host. Or am I your most frequent co-host? I'm not.
Well, they can't get anybody that's willing to come on with you, so
Yeah.
that's the truth of the matter.
Yeah. And tonight we have the pleasure of getting the story from Christine Nelson about her journey, how she started her business and where she's at today, as well as Lauri Ross. I'm sorry, I'm not going to try your last name.
I'll try it. Erenstoft. Did I say that right? Are you? Did I?
You did?
Did I pronounce? Okay.
We'll start with Christine. Do you want to start out with the same question? What part of the country are you in, Christine?
I live in northern Michigan, up just south of Traverse City in a little town.
You can't talk about anywhere in Michigan without pulling out
Out your hand.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. And how long have you been doing this long arming, Christine?
I have been since 2006.
Okay, and what? Tell us a little bit about the story. How you started? How did you get into this in the first place?
Okay, couple of things. I got into this because, first of all, I was dissatisfied with quilts I was getting back from quilters, and I thought a better job could be done. And so we built a house in 2002, and so it was always my goal to start looking at machines at that time. I also have a son who has a severe closed head injury. And so I was not working outside the home. So I needed something to do for my artistic outlet and for a little bit of money and sanity.
I have a follow-up question. You mentioned having not been real pleased with some of the aspects of quilts that you got back from other quilters. This is a common fear that new long arm quilters have. They don't want their customer to be unhappy with the quilt that they get back. Do you mind sharing what your main kind of pet peeve was with those experiences?
My main pet peeve is that they were ugly. I really didn't, there was like really not anything artistic about it. And some of them, you could tell that they didn't have a stitch regulator of any kind. And so the stitches were very uneven. And some of the quilting actually fell apart on some of the quilts.
Okay. Well,
So
that would be kind of heartbreaking to have all that time and money, but mostly time that went into that quilt, and then you get it back and you probably felt in some cases she ruined my quilt.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
So so when you first started in 2006 and you got your first long arm, what was it for the purpose of going into business, or was it just for yourself? Or tell us about that.
So it was a guilty pleasure that I really, really wanted this machine. And honestly, I was just going to do a hand-guided machine. And I told my husband, I says, well, they've got this Statler that's, like X amount of money. And he says, well, if you're going to do it, he says, just do it now. Okay, I guess that's the route we're going. And I'm sorry, what else was the question? Totally lost my train of thought there.
Just whether you got it just for personal use or to start out with a business.
No, so yes, I wanted it for personal use, but I knew that the only way that I was going to be able to afford that was I was going to have to quilt for other people to help pay for it.
So the answer is both.
Yeah.
Yes.
So obviously there's a lot of machines to choose from, and when you picked your machine out, that was the same situation. Why did you decide to get the Gamel with the Statler instead of one of the others?
Well, there really weren't any other dealers around here, and I've never been close to any kind of a dealer. I'd never been to a quilt show, but I had a friend who had a Gamel, and it was just a no bells, no whistles, stitch regulated, and she loved her machine. And I went and talked to a woman, a sales rep for Gamel, and she had a Statler, and I got to play on that machine, and that pretty much sold me right there.
Yeah. Yeah, you touch a Statler and you've got to have one.
So do you still have the same one today, or have you upgraded?
I do. Her name is Vivian. So in 2022, I upgraded to the Ascend from a Statler. So I went from a Statler to, and I had to retrofit because I had the old track. I had an old mod. The only thing that was new on it was my computer.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Cool. All right. So you've got a top of the line machine now.
Yeah, I do.
So when you were getting your machine, obviously you knew that there was, well, how did you know that there would be customers for you?
I did not. I did not know. I knew that there were a couple other long armors in the area. I happen to be very fortunate that somebody that did a very nice job of long arm quilting decided to retire in the area, and she actually sent some of her people to me.
Mhm,
And I still have a couple of those customers that are still my customers.
mhm.
So you kind of went in a little bit blindfolded. You didn't know what was out there customer wise.
Not really, because she knew that a couple of the quilters that she had sent quilts to didn't do very good work.
True.
You could do better than them, huh?
I did. Yeah, I kind of knew that.
Yeah. Um, so how did you find your customers? When you first got started and you had 0 customers, how did you start?
Okay, so I got my machine in 2006, and I really was going to wait like 6 months before I started taking any client quilts.
I'm sorry.
Well, I mean, because I started way back with
I've heard
precision
that
stitch,
before.
and one of the local quilt shop that we had at the time got wind of the fact that I had this long arm and started sending me people. And
Mhm.
I wasn't looking for people yet. And I got one of the first clients I had that I no longer have because she moved away, was very particular and very difficult to work with. And that made it a lot easier after that to deal with almost anybody that came through my door.
So you got the tough ones out of the way first.
Oh my gosh. She was very particular about what she wanted. And some of the stuff that she wanted, I couldn't do. I mean, I could with the new software, but I couldn't at that time.
So real quick, while we're on that subject, can you just like tell us a little bit about how you dealt with that and what you had to deal with, and if you learned anything from that?
Well, I learned a lot of things. I learned a lot of math. I learned a lot of math about doing corners and borders and things like that, which I still use to this day. Not as much, but
This
in
was
order,
right at the beginning when you were just
right. I had to learn to surf a lot.
Okay.
Mhm.
So I got very good at surfing a quilt to make sure that, patterns would go exactly where I wanted them to go. And it was not easy. And, as far as edge to edge patterns, nested ones, I really avoided them because they were very difficult to work with.
Mhm. Yeah, the older software was, did you start with Creative Studio 4?
No, one.
Creative Studio
One,
1, okay. Yeah.
way back in the frontier
But it was
days.
still visual. It was still a
Well,
visual.
it was, in fact. Okay, so, I was all excited because, Creative Studio came out, and I opened the software and I looked at it and I'm like, oh, hell no. And I closed it and went back to precision stitch because it was a lot. But we had an educator in the area, and there was a group of us Statler owners, and we all got together, and we learned how to use the software.
Mhm.
I still have that printed manual.
Now, this is a loaded question because I know what the answer is, but how much did you pay for all these software upgrades over the years? Going all the way through Creative Studio 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and now 7.
How much did I pay?
Yeah.
Nothing. My
Yeah.
machine paid for it.
Yeah. Well, and your software upgrades are free. A lot of
Yep.
times people are shocked to find out that we don't
They
charge
they are.
upgrades.
They are.
Yeah, I get that question all the time in tech support.
Yeah,
How much will it cost to get the software upgrade?
it's free.
Oh my gosh. Every time there was a software update, I couldn't wait to do it. And then I was running my Windows XP computer, and I ran that for a really long time till like 2019.
Hmm.
And I couldn't upgrade past 4.2. So I went from 4.2 to 7.3 or whatever it was. I just jumped in with both feet. I didn't even hesitate.
Hmm.
So you started out with a brand new Statler?
Mhm.
6, yep. With
And
prison stitch.
prison stitch, yes, yes.
Yeah.
That's, yeah. So how did you come up with the funds to purchase that in the first place?
I didn't know how I was going to finance it, and my husband came home and said, "Hey, I went to the bank today. You need to go in and sign loan papers tomorrow." Okay,
So he was proactive for you there.
he was.
Wow.
I have never done that for my wife.
Well, maybe you need to take a lesson from
But
Christine.
I would, I just never thought of it.
But now you're gonna do it, right?
Well, maybe.
Okay.
That's a great way of telling you that he's 1000% behind you,
Yes,
right? It's one thing to
absolutely.
say, go ahead and do what you want. It's a whole nother thing to say, I got the financing all set up for you. Wow.
Yeah, there's been a few we've talked to on here that they had to kind of pull him along a little bit, you know. So
Yeah, he didn't hesitate. I mean, he knew that I was looking at this machine. He knew how much it cost, and he was okay with it.
At that time, did you have another job that you were doing?
Mm-mm. No, I stopped working in 1999 after my son's accident because I needed to care for him full time, plus take care of my daughter, and then we had 2 more children on top of that.
Okay. So this was 7 years after the accident, give or take.
Mhm.
Okay. And so you were taking care of how many children at that time?
4.
4. Okay. All right. Well, you had a full-time job then. It just wasn't away from the house.
Correct.
and you know something that I've seen several times since we've been doing these interviews is there's several people that have had like a disabled child or child that needs help, and their quilting business has enabled them to have the freedom to be there for that child, you know. So yeah, I see a common thread with that, and I think that's an important thing for certain people out there.
I was speaking with a young lady not very long ago, and she has one small child at home and another one on the way. And quite often it's a very simple thing of wanting to raise your children yourself as opposed to having other people do it. So, um, so how, at this point, we're going to fast forward to 2024. At this point, how many quilts do you figure that you do in a year? Do you know how many you did last year?
I don't know how many I do. I can do anywhere from 1 quilt a week to 5 or 6 quilts a week. It
Mhm.
depends because I do edge to edge and custom.
Ah, yes. So
And when you make those quilts, do you charge by the square? How do you charge for those?
I charge by the square inch. I know that a lot of ladies charge, custom by the hour, but I'm straight up. I am bad about keeping track of my time, so it has to be by the square inch.
And what is your charge for square inch?
For edge to edge is 2 cents,
Mhm.
and my custom starts at 5.
Mhm.
Okay.
Did you by any chance kind of keep mental note of how long it was before you paid off your machine? A lot of times people kind of track that.
Yeah, it took me about 3 years.
Mhm.
I was actually able to pay the loan off early, so it was a good thing.
Mhm. That feels good, doesn't it?
Yes, it does.
Mhm. So, what would you say was maybe your worst year? If you had to say, well, my worst year, I only did X quilts or X amount of dollars. What was a bad year for you?
Well, I knew that this question was going to get asked, and because my son has, I told you I have a son that has issues. We had a number of years that were very ugly and dark. And so quilting really went to the back burner. Yes, I lost some clients. And I went and looked at the tax returns that I did have. And my worst year, I think, was like $2,900.
Hmm. And what's a good year been?
I think last year was probably my best year, but my kids are grown now. And so I have more time to dedicate to the quilting.
Hmm.
And I haven't figured all those numbers out yet, but I was really busy.
So how big of an impact or difference, would you say that having the freedom that you have in this type of job, um, versus, anything else that, you could have done? How big of an impact, has that had on your life? Just the freedom, or how much freedom? Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, having the freedom to do, to be able to participate in my girls, because they were all involved in band. So I was heavily involved with our band booster group, and to be involved in the community, and, and on top of it, to have to run for my son's specialist that are, an hour and a half to 2 hours away from where we live. So this job really allowed me the freedom to be able to schedule my time as needed. And I had some very understanding clients because sometimes things took a long time to get done.
Mm-hmm.
And there's not very many other careers where you would really have that kind of freedom. I don't think.
Well, as much as a customer might feel like her quilt getting done is an emergency, it's actually not. I
No.
mean, there's no real quilting emergencies. Got a comment from a listener that's actually
Yeah.
just a personal comment to you, Bobby.
Yeah, it's actually one of our previous guests, who, also has a child with a disability, and I do too. And, she's saying we need to, we need a sorority or fraternity, a hand symbol or a wave, or, some kind of special symbol for our people. So, yeah, so Christine, you can be in the club there too,
Yeah.
Awesome.
our people.
Mhm.
Thank you, Amy.
So Christine, what did you find to be the hardest part of growing your business? There's actually, it seems like a lot of things went really easy for you because of a few kind of stars that aligned. The lady that retired and handed over some of her clients, but what were those hard things? You mentioned the customer that stretched you early on.
I think the hardest part about growing the business is because I am in a small town and we only had one quilt shop. Now we have a couple of them, but they also do long arming services. So like I don't have cards there because they do edge to edge, and all they're going to send me is customs. Not that I don't want to do custom, but that's not all I want to do.
Right. Mhm. Can you think of any change in technology or something that's changed between 2006 and today that's really been a benefit to you in your quilting?
Well, I mean, obviously the software, I mean, I've watched it, from its infancy of Creative Studio and then before that. And there was something else that I was going to say about this because I knew this question was going to come up. Um,
But you do have
oh,
the,
I do know what it was. So the technology that I think is really great is that there are so many videos out there, because when I started, it was blind. You were blind going in, there was nothing. And it was trial and error, and you hoped and prayed that you could find a buddy.
Mm-hmm. That's true. That was really, really different. Even 10 years ago, that was incredibly different.
yes, technology, and even, and we did a little spot about this program and about the Accelerate, business, program this week. And it struck me as we were talking about it that, a lot of people like you guys that are on with us, tonight, and the majority of people that we've had on this program have done this, without the benefit of having all these people, that
Yeah, you didn't have a step-by-step training program
Yeah.
that basically held your hand through the whole thing. You had to figure it out. Yeah.
Yeah, so I think, the people that are, watching or listening to this program, this is this is an unprecedented, invaluable thing that, people going into a quilting business have never had before. I mean, you have access to, I don't know, we have, what do we have, 26 programs, and, an average of 2 people on each one of those. That's a lot of people, concentrated, speaking directly about this subject on this program. And then plus the Accelerate program that has all the things that they need to direct them in getting started with a business. Anyway, I wasn't trying to go into a big commercial there, but that struck me what you said there, that about the advantages that the people watching this have. Where are we?
Who has been your biggest cheerleader and your support system through this?
Well, obviously my husband. I can't say my mom because my mom doesn't really get what I do, but my husband has been there every step of the way, and he was there when I wanted to retrofit my machine, and he's just always there.
Mhm,
And my kids, my girls really love what I do too.
mhm.
Awesome. So for the people watching this, if you could think of one thing that you wish somebody had told you at the beginning that they didn't, can you think of anything that you would say to that?
Yeah, it's okay to say no.
It's okay to say no.
Yep, no is a complete sentence, because there were some jobs that I took that I should never have taken.
Mhm.
What about that first one that you were talking about? Was that one of those, or what do you think?
Yes. Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, because I was over my head doing that. She wanted things that I really was not able to provide to me. If she were to come to me today, it would be a different story.
Yeah, you would also be like, yeah, we can do that. It's going to cost you.
Mhm.
Mhm.
That's cool. So, so what advice would you give to somebody who is thinking about starting her own business? Maybe what what it's been 18 years. Wow. Okay, so the 18-year ago, somebody a little younger, a little more naive, a little more terrified than you are today. Uh, what advice would you give to her? Do you think she could do it if she wants to?
I definitely think she could do it if she wants to. Investigate around your area and see what's out there. See if how many long armors there are, because if you get into an area that's too saturated, you're going to struggle, I think. But, if you're good and your work speaks for itself, you will get people.
Mhm.
Mhm.
A good way, in case people haven't heard this on other episodes or whatever, but a really good way to know, because a big concern that would need to be answered is this area really oversaturated with long arm quilters? And there's really one indicator, and other people have talked about it on other episodes, and that is how long will it take to get the quilt back? Because if you've got a lady who's desperate for customers and she does not have enough work to make the payment on her machine, if you bring her a quilt today, she'll have it back in 2 or 3 days, right? Because she's throw it right on the frame, get it done. But
Yep,
when people have a backlog of 20 quilts, 30 quilts, 40 quilts, when they're going to get it back to you in a few months, that's a market that certainly could handle another machine. So,
exactly. Yeah,
mhm.
and we kind of have that here. Like I know that the one quilt shop, they're quite a ways out. I'm not that far out. I'm never without quilts. I'm always busy. There's
Mhm.
always work.
Mhm.
Christine, one thing that we didn't get to in talking to you, well, maybe I missed it, but was your advertising, was it primarily word of mouth, or?
Yeah, almost exclusively word of mouth. And I don't do mail in really, so I've got a few people that mail things to me, but
That was going to be my next question. Okay, okay,
Mhm.
excellent. Well, all right. So we're going to move to talk to Lauri now. Now, Christine, you stay with us, and we're all family here, so you feel free to chime in if you want to, if you have something to contribute to the conversation. But we're going to start talking to Lauri Ross Erenstoft, right? I got that right, correct?
Yes, yes, you did.
Okay. So Lauri, where are you located? Where's your home?
I live about 40 minutes northeast of Atlanta, Georgia.
Okay, a Southerner. I can relate. I like Southerners. We don't get enough of them
Well,
on
I'm
the.
glad you do. I am 100% Yankee. I am from New York. I just live here.
You didn't sound like a Southerner, even though you're down there.
No, that will never go away, Bobby. That will never go away.
The weather's better.
Yes.
We enjoyed an 80-degree day today, and my sister's in Wyoming, and she got some snow today. So
Well, yeah, you were here at my house, Andrew, not too long ago.
where was I?
Yeah, you came
I
for my
can
tech
never-
service.
I can never tell for sure why people look familiar, and so
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
try to remember, but I can't. So how long have you been long arming, Lauri?
Coming up on 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's it. 3 years.
And the machine that I see behind you there, uh,
Uh-huh.
like a Statler?
It's a Statler Classic. Yes.
Yep. Yep.
14-foot table. Yeah.
Okay.
So you just started long arming 3 years ago?
Yeah, about then, coming up on 3 years.
And what's
I didn't start taking clients right away, but because I was still learning.
okay.
But yeah.
So what's the story with you? How did you get what brought you into long arming?
Well, I started quilting about 10 years ago when my mother's health started to fade, not too much different than Christine's story. And I needed something to do from home, to creative, be creative, stay creative, and not go insane, not leaving the house. So I started quilting, and I would hang out at my favorite quilt shop on Saturday mornings. And my friends who owned that quilt shop had Statlers. All right. And I was fascinated by them. I never got to play with them, but fast forward a few years, they retired, and they made me an offer on this machine that I couldn't refuse. And it just took off from there.
Wow, that was a neat opportunity for you.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
100%. I felt like I won the lottery.
Right.
So,
So that kind of answers one of our questions, which is, why did you choose to go with a Gamel? You'd had your eyes on that machine for a while.
I have, but I played, I've seen other machines at quilt shows and whatever, but I was always drawn to the Gamel, and I always wanted to play on that machine. It's the best out there.
Mhm. Yeah.
So,
So did you know right away that you were going to take quilts for other people, to do a business, or yeah,
mhm.
you did.
Yeah, I did. That was this quilt, the long arm machine coming into my life was the kickstart for me to, do something different. Heading into semi-retirement. So this is what I want to do in my time, that the time that I have. So
And you mentioned doing some quilting before that. Were you doing some like short arm or
oh no, I'm talking about piecing. Sorry.
Yeah.
Didn't mean to confuse you there. But that's what led me to where I am today.
Well, yeah, because you had all these quilt tops.
Absolutely.
You didn't have nothing to do with them?
What
Yeah.
are we gonna do with all these quilt tops?
And my favorite long armor retired. So
Right, right.
You had to take their place.
yes.
So so I think we kind of know the answers to some of these questions. So how did you know there was enough long arm business in your town to support a long arm quilter? Well, your friends were retiring.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And surprise, surprise, they referred their clients to me. So I have some steady clients. I have, a business that brings in money to feed and keep my business going. I'm not taking a salary against anything like that, but it supports what I have, what's going
Mhm.
on.
Mhm. Okay, you broke up a little bit, but I think we got the
Oh, I'm
gist of
sorry.
the answer there. No, that's fine. We can blame
Okay.
the internet. It's nothing that you did.
All
So
right.
so how did you come up with the funds to purchase your machine? Because obviously your friends didn't have a financing program, so you came up with something on
No.
your own.
I had cash, and I actually, extremely affordable, without telling too much. I took the money and invested in building my studio.
Mhm.
And I wanted my clients to have a nice place to come and drop off their quilts and have more of an experience, a client experience. So I built a flagstone pathway with beautiful landscaping, bringing them right to my studio door. They don't have to come through my home. Therefore, they don't have to meet my fur babies. So you met my dogs, Andrew. So, and it just makes for a nice environment. So
So your
that's
studio
where I spent my
is on
money.
your studio is on your home property?
Yes, it is.
Mhm.
I have a walkout. There's windows off to my right
Yeah.
here.
I bet she
So
wears slippers to work sometimes.
Yeah. Yeah, you can,
most of the time I wear my pajamas.
there you go. I wanted to ask you, since you're what we call a short timer, you're
Yes.
starting out. So in this short time that you've been doing it, these 3 years, which is relatively short compared to a lot of people, may seem like an eternity to some of the people.
Especially compared to Christine.
Yeah. But in that time, uh, so you started out with some customers, and
Mhm.
have you gained more customers, or tell us a little
Yes.
bit about how that is going on with you?
Well, it's word of mouth mostly. My husband works at a local church. He's a chef and he cooks for all the children. And so there's a lot of church people that come in and, big community, wonderful people. So I've gotten clients through the church. Um, and just really just one person telling another
Yeah, one person telling the next person and
telling another person. I have cards printed, I have bags for my clients, that type of thing. I just believe in giving good customer service, and the quality of my work speaks for itself. So, and there's really not much you can't do with Creative Studio. So, your
It's
world is your oyster if
You
you want to
can't
make
do,
it.
let me know and I'll show you how to do it.
I
it's
appreciate that. You're welcome anytime.
Sure. It's crazy how many different things you can do. I was talking with somebody who was I don't want to mention the other brand name. It was just another brand of machine, and
Mhm.
he had been told, "Oh yeah, it'll do everything that the Statler does." And he said, because he had the two machines both in his studio, and he said, "Well, this other one, there may be only one way to do a function, such as a border or an edge to edge or something." And he said, with my creative studio, he says there's 4, 5, 6 different ways of accomplishing any task. And on this other
Mhm.
software, it only has one way. And for some things, there's 0 ways.
Mhm.
It's just flexible.
Yeah, and in tech support, I run into that a lot. I mean, I don't do a lot of quilting myself, but I help people if there's a problem, to get things working right. But I can't tell you how many times I've spoken to people who with Creative Studio, they can by themselves figure out 4 or 5 different ways to do the same thing. If there's something they can't figure out or get it, there's you can do a workaround really easily. It's kind of intuitive that way.
Mhm.
Well, different people's brains work differently too. You know, what seems like the obvious way for me might not seem like the obvious way for Bobby. Um,
Mhm.
did you do another job at the same time, or did you basically decide, okay, I'm gonna do a quilting business full time? Because it kind of feels like that, because you built the studio and all that, you went all in.
Well, surprise, surprise. I still work full time in the corporate world. So,
Oh, you do? Okay.
I do. I do.
And
I
how
quilt in the evenings and on weekends.
many
That's
hours
how
a
I
week
get it
would
done.
you say you put into quilting?
Can you say that again, Bobby? I didn't hear you.
About how many hours a week would you say you put into quilting on average?
Right now, it's about 16, 20 maybe.
Mhm.
Okay, so
Yeah.
you're still working full-time
Mhm.
outside of quilting.
Yes.
Okay, okay.
Yeah,
Can you-
so that'll end at the end of 2025. Well, we'll go part-time and invest more time into my love of quilting.
Mhm. Can you give people an idea of what they might be able to earn if they're putting in 15 hours a week like you're doing?
It depends on the size of the quilts, of course, and how many quilts you get. So let's say your average quilt is $100. If you do 5 quilts a week, you got $500 a week,
Mhm.
you know? So the math is easy. It's just what you want to put into it is what you're going to get out of it.
Mhm.
And we hear that over and over and over.
Mhm.
What you put into it is what you get out of it.
That's right.
Do you do any custom quilting or do you stick to the edge to edge?
Edge to edge is, of course, everybody's bread and butter, but computerized custom, yes,
Mhm.
computerized custom. So I just use the computer system itself to give me the desired outcome that I want, and pattern to boundary, that type of thing. So
Mhm.
I don't do hand guided. I don't know how.
Mhm.
And how do you charge for your quilts? By the inch
Well,
or?
I'm by the square inch and I'm competitive in my area. It depends on what it is, of course, but it starts at 0.25 and on up.
Mhm. Do you offer any additional services like binding or
Yes.
yep.
Binding is outsourced. I have a friend of mine that does it much better than I do, and it's a beautiful outcome. And she's very reasonably priced. And I do provide batting. I'll have different choice. My storage area where I had my batting rack, if you remember. I don't know if you remember that or not,
I
but
do. Yeah,
yeah, you see a lot of places. So
afraid so.
Yeah, it's like me.
yeah,
I
so
talk to 50 people a day,
yeah,
and then somebody, hey,
yeah, yeah.
they think you remember every detail about them, but
Yeah.
yeah.
No, of course not. Yeah.
Yeah, plus the age is not helping either. I'm starting to get the gray here. Lauri, I wanted to ask you another thing.
Sure.
What did I want to ask you? Oh yeah. So and this will be kind of a unique it may be kind of a unique answer for you since you're a short timer. And in
Hmm.
the years that you've been doing this,
Hmm.
can you think of anything that you would point out as being the hardest part of what you've done thus far?
I think I think it all boils down for a lot of people to networking and just getting yourself out there. Because I work full time, I haven't put a lot of effort into that, and I've been relying more on word of mouth. Uh, I do have a website with a gallery, so you can see pictures, and there's a little bit about my quilt journey in there, and then you can contact me. But there needs work and needs more attention, and those things will come as I have time to do it. I'm not starving, so business is there. And I visit quilt shops and they have my cards, and I get calls from people randomly. A lot of times it just goes to voicemail because I don't know if it's spam. So, but it works. It all works.
And at the end of this program, we will also give you and Christine a chance to say if you have a website or Facebook page or something that where people might be able to get in touch with you also. So keep that in mind. Don't let me forget about that.
Sure.
Mhm.
Okay. And so I was going to ask Lori, is there anyone that you can point to that's been your biggest cheerleader or has supported you as you've been doing all this?
Of course, my husband, but my friends who own the quilt shop, they're my rock. They're everything. They've just been extremely supportive. And if I had run into an issue, they're nearby, they come over or they'll walk me through it. And I learned from that. And like you have to invest in your education. You know, if you're a doctor, you got to keep up on the latest things in medicine, right? So same thing here. There's always something new to learn, and education is key. I've been to the summit in Utah. I've taken Quilting with Confidence. I've done consults with Gamel. I have Facebook groups that I belong to, and I believe I'm friends with Christine on one of those Facebook groups. So, you know, this is where you have to go to get your education, and you have to keep doing it. There's always something more. And that's what I love about it. It's so interesting.
And speaking of, you mentioned Quilting with Confidence that you've been to.
Yes.
Can you give us a quick little feedback on that? Because that's coming up again, getting ready to start up this year.
Yeah.
And
It
tell
was
us, tell the
fabulous.
people about
It
that.
was amazing. First of all, I made lifelong friends from it, but I got to see some of the educators that I saw in Utah, so that was fun too. And but the course program was spot on. The curriculum was good. Even if you were a beginner and going into the advanced, one thing built on the other. And whoever, I think I know who helped write the course, but it was very smartly done. And so I got a lot out of it.
Mhm.
Highly recommend it. Even if you're a seasoned, long armor, you should go.
Christine, have you had any experience with these Quilting with Confidence events?
I have not, restrictions with my son and, care for him while I'm gone. So I've not done that.
If I had done my research, I would have looked up and seen, because in the computer, I would have been able to look up and see who's been and who hasn't. But I never thought about asking people before. But that's it really is something that if a person can go, it is an incredible experience. It's ridiculously underpriced for what it's worth, but you can also get the recordings of prior year Quilting with Confidence. You can get access to that on the website, but you should always, I think, if you can find a way to come, you should come.
Yes, and also, and if you're not able to, sometimes you're not going to be able to. Like Andrew alluded to, the Quilting with Confidence, it is recorded, but also there's purchasable courses on gamel.com, new owner training for Statler or for hand guided or whatever you're in, and that also comes with free live like Zoom sessions, like we're doing face to face here with an educator. A free hour with an educator comes with that. And so, yeah, so there's something on there for everybody. We encourage everybody, if you can, go to Quilting with Confidence, because it's life-changing. But if you just can't, there's also resources for you.
So we have something new this year that is I hate to make it a commercial, but you never know
we're being real commercially today. I'm sorry.
You never know who's
Yeah.
who doesn't know about this stuff and might be listening.
Yes.
But one thing that we're doing this year that's brand new is we're doing these 2-day training events for the Quilting with Confidence, but there's a third day, and that third day is actually the first day. So on the day that the truck rolls into town, while we're setting up our classrooms for the big Quilting with Confidence, there is, I guess in the other room or something, there's a free event going on. And you do still have to register for this. Many of the people who come to the free event won't be coming to the Quilting with Confidence because there won't have been room for them. And some of the people who come to the free event are also going to the Quilting with Confidence. So just because you're going to one doesn't mean that you're going to the other one, but they happen in the same place with the same team. And it's called, is it Confidence Essentials? I'm trying to remember the name of it. And we wanted to make sure that even people that have zero budget available for training, that when we're in your town, that we're filling you. Like our intent is to roll into town and to pour knowledge, pour our experience, pour everything that we can into you to build you to be a confident quilter, including for people that have a budget of $0 or who maybe don't even own a long arm machine yet, or they own a different brand. And I mean, our mission is not just restricted to people that have gamma machines. So that's a pretty cool thing. I got way off track. I don't even remember which question we're on.
I forgot. You got me off track too.
What
Did we ask the cheerleader?
we did, but we didn't ask what kind of impact has the control of your personal schedule and the quilting money had on your life?
It's just nice to be able to do what I want when I want. And right now, the money is just being rolled back into my business, which I think is smart for me right now because I don't need to draw off that money. So that'll come in soon enough, and I'll have a bigger client base by then, and it'll work. But one of the things you didn't ask me is how I turn quilts. You know, what's my time frame to turn quilts? And I live by a 2-week. Right now, I can afford to live by a 2-week time frame. So I like to turn the quilts back as quickly as I can, so they can go talk to their friend.
And Lauri, I wanted to ask you another thing that's kind of related to the one about your time and schedule.
Yeah.
You're still yeah, you're in the early stages for you.
Yes.
Do you have what's your vision for your own business from here on out? Are you looking to go full-time into the quilting business?
At some point, yes, absolutely. Yeah.
Okay.
She's gonna escape the corporate world.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes, I am. I paid my dues.
So is there anything that you wish somebody would have told you when you first got started with this machine? Is there anything that you really wish somebody would have said?
How addicting it is. It's
I haven't heard that one. That's pretty good. Yeah.
I love it. It's my happy place, and that's what's important.
Mhm.
So that's the career after the career that you have in store for yourself.
Yes. Yeah. You have to do what you love.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Do you have any advice for those who might be looking to get a machine and get started? What do you need to tell that person?
Plan. Okay. You know, check your budget. Do the things the right way. You want the machine, I know you want it. Okay, but where are you going to quilt? Are you setting it up in your dining room, or are you setting it up in a place where you can be more creative? So I would say have a dedicated space if you can, and you know, just do it. If you love it that much, just do it. Do it. There's always going to be business for you.
Always going to be business. Do you think that in this day and age, based on the few years that you've been doing this, do you think this is that it's possible for anybody to do this that has a heart for quilting?
Yes, because as a seasoned piecer, okay, all these people who are making quilts, somebody has to quilt them for them, right? So, you know, there's always going to be something, and people want to be creative. And if anything, if the pandemic taught us anything, it brought us back a little bit more to grassroots and what's important, you know. So, and people became more creative. They started fixing up their own homes instead of saying, "Oh, I hate this house, let's move." You know. So, you know, you started to get more involved in your community, even though you couldn't see those people, you know. So I think it's important. It's out there. It's out there for anybody who wants to do it.
Mhm.
Anything that goes for anything. If you have a passion for anything in life, just do it.
You know, one thing I've noticed with the people that we interview on this program is it seems as though there might be two types of people in this world. There's people that believe that the outcome of their life is largely dictated by choices that they make and actions that they take. And then there's other people who believe that most of that stuff is outside their control. And if you believe yourself to be powerless, you will,
Mhm.
you know.
Yeah.
But
Absolutely.
yeah, our quilters are people that grab life by the horns, you know. So tell me, if people want to get a hold of you
Hope
after
so.
this program, maybe they want to send you a message on Facebook or visit your website or whatever. Lauri, what's the way that people would find your website, for example, or other ways?
HappyQuilterStudio.com.
HappyQuilterStudio.com.
Yes. Quilter is singular. HappyQuilterStudio.com. Yes.
Gotcha.
And it's also at gmail.com. Same thing.
Mhm. Perfect.
Okay, excellent.
And Christine, how would people find you?
Okay, so I don't really have a very good functioning website yet. Still working on that. But I do have Instagram and I do have Facebook, which is under Frogfoot Quilts. And you can also email me at that same address.
So Frogfoot Quilts.
Yes.
Okay. Got it.
And what'd you say they can email you?
Yeah, at frogfootquilts@gmail.com.
Frogfootquilts@gmail.com.
You guys keep it simple. I like that. All right. Well, thank you so much for joining us today. I'm surprised we didn't get any other questions in the Q&A, but I think that's just because people were busy listening. So it was a pleasure to have both of you on here. And
Yeah, Christine and Lauri, it's been a pleasure talking to both of you and meeting both of you. And thanks for the inspiration.
Thank you.
Thank you.
all right. Thank you. Good night.
Bye-bye.